What's up, everybody? Psych Out back here again, this time on our second account, Psych Experiment. Why are we back again so quickly? Well, because we also won the grand tournament on this account, this time playing a Reaper deck. This time I lost, what, twice? I think I lost twice around maybe three times, maybe round one, round seven, and again in round nine. I made the brave move of trying to continue, and we won. And this time, I didn't claim the prizes yet, so this time we'll get to see the prizes that we get. Along the way on this one, it was pretty cool. We got a legendary card in a great chest, and it was a dragon, so that's pretty cool. It's a new legendary card for us. And here we got a Hollow Knight. This is the account I mostly play Reaper with, so Hollow Knight is a card that's featured in that deck, so a couple of Hollow Knights for the Grand Tournament is a pretty good result for us here, or at least for this account in this deck. None of those cards that helpful. Inferno, and not really either. Neither is Mage. So these cards aren't their best. Okay, so that's all fine. We got 4,110 gems back, thankfully. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot of that. Okay. But it's a good thing that we got all of our gems back. Ultimately, this actually risked less gems than on the previous account because continuing at round 10 cost 6,000 gems. 7 and 9 or 8 or wherever I continued at cost even less. I think it was round 7 and 8 I continued at those. So in this video, we will show you some of the games. A lot of Reaper opponents that I played against in this one. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show all the games because I did lose a number of times there. So that was round 10, that was round 9, that was round 8, round 8. Sorry, let me think about this here. So that was round 10, that was a round 9 win, that was a round 9 loss. This was a round 8 win, a round 8 loss. So I continued to 8 and 9. Round 7 win, round 6 win, round 5, round 4, 3. So we'll start with round 3 and we'll show these 10. These will be, I think, quicker than the last video because in this time, like I said, we are playing a Reaper deck. So here's round 3 of the Grand Tournament. I think overall, in general, I got pretty decent draws. I don't remember too many games where it's like, oh man, my draw was just really bad. I don't think I played particularly well. Here, my plan was to play to get the protection out, and I do get it out, but unfortunately, it's way too late. I've kind of botched this one, so I get to save the day with the standard bearer. Luckily, my opponent is holding a bunch of cards that aren't that useful for him. As you'll see here, he tries the Giant Growth, the Warrior, and make it really strong, but it's going to be no match for the cards that I'm about to send at him, including the Reaper and the Storm Elemental. And we use the standard bearer to switch lanes and to finish off the castle there. So that was a round 3 win. Many of the opponents I played here did not really recognize. Some of them are quite good, and I did recognize them. So it was a round 3 win. So here's round 4 against kind of a mixed deck. This was an opponent I did not recognize. A few opponents I did, and I'll point that out when those come up. So here I thought my opponent was playing some kind of a rush deck, probably a Reaper. And I thought, this could be trouble. But I do have the Phoenix to deal with those skeletons, so that's okay. And I use the Wind to make my Storm Elemental stronger. I think my opponent might not have that much experience because they played the Dwarf in front of my Phoenix, which is just going to take it down without much trouble. And now I've really got threats in all 3 lanes, and I think I'm looking pretty dangerous now. My opponent does kill my Phoenix, but that's probably the least of their worries. The big problems are the Reaper and the Storm Elemental, and now I've got a protection on the Reaper, and it's pretty much all over from here. There's just too many powerful threats. Even the Phoenix did not die in time. So just really not well played by our opponent there. So that was round 4. Round 5 is against David, who is clanless. In my experience, when you're playing people who are not in a clan, usually they're not the strongest of opponents. I've seen a number of people played Fortify. Just to me, this suggests they don't really know what they're doing. Usually Fortify or Overtime decks don't work really well in the tournament. I talked about this in my previous video. on the Psych Out account. Yeah, the overtime decks are not really that strong in the tournament. So here we play the Shock to get rid of the Pirate. I really don't want to go to war with the Pirate there with what I've got in front of me. And I just want to keep the Storm alive. It works out well that I had the Phoenix to deal with the Skeleton Swarm, and now the Storm Elemental is just getting stronger, and it's at the castle gate. I decided to go ahead and put a second threat out there with the Reaper and the Hollow Knight, but at this point it's really just there's not a lot my opponent can do. I mean, the Standard Bearer puts everything in one lane, and it's just way too much going on now. My opponent does have one resource with the Wind, but we've got plans here. Actually I played that protection too quick. I should have waited another fraction of a second, but I knew another Standard Bearer was coming pretty soon, and there we got it. And I knew once I got that it was going to be game over. Plus I had the freeze if things ever really got too dicey. So not too much trouble in that game. So let's see, 3, 4, 5. So this is round 6. Here's somebody from a clan that I recognize, Lebanon Fort. They have a number of pretty strong players, so I knew this was probably going to be a tough match here in round 6. I got the Skeletons, which is always pretty good to start with this deck. We both play warriors that are going to kill each other. My opponent decides to play the Reaper here, which is it's interesting. They didn't actually need it, so now that Reaper's just kind of hanging. And I'm kind of just waiting to kill it. Like, I don't really have to kill it yet. I'm waiting to see what my opponent's going to do. And then once it gets close to the castle, I go ahead and play the Shock on it. Now my opponent plays the Vampire, pushes me back. I'm sure my opponent at this point thought, aha, I've got Rage, I've got Vampire, I've got the Standard Bearer. This is going to do a lot of damage, but I have the Wind to slow that down. Here I really screwed up. I made the switch thinking my Reaper was going to kill all their stuff, but unfortunately their Reaper got there first and killed all of mine. Luckily, I've still got some more resources in my back pocket, that being the freeze with the Reaper to defend. And at this point, I knew my opponent was in big trouble because they weren't playing anything, which is usually indicative of a lot of problems. I also had a Reaper at the castle with one skeleton in front as a blocker. So we got the win there. Kind of dicey. Not really the best of played games by me. Okay, so let's see. 3, 4, 5, 6. And here was number 7. And this is, again, someone I did not recognize at all. Didn't really know what they were playing or what to expect from this opponent in round 7. And so I won these all in a row. The first 7 I won straight. I don't claim that I played them particularly excellently, but I did get all the wins there. So here I'm just going to go ahead and push back, and then I realize, oh no, this could be a real problem because the Angel Vampire combo can be nasty. So at this point I decide, you know what I'm going to do? I am just going to go all in on the other lanes and try to kill them over there. And so I play the Storm. And at this point, I know I need to get out of the way because the big Mud Elemental will kill my Hollow Knight. So now I'm just thinking, okay, I just need to do enough damage before he does, but before the Vampire can, because I really don't have any way of dealing with that. So I put a Reaper in front and another Reaper in front, which actually does kill the Vampire. That's, I guess, the difference with a level 1 versus level 2 Vampire. And we did enough damage per second, and they didn't have enough defenders that we did get the win there. So that one was, I would also say, is a little shaky. So that was round 7. And then I lost in round 8 to what I thought for a while was going to be a... I think I didn't have the best draw here, but I thought this was going to be some kind of a resurrection deck, but it really wasn't. So this is round 8. It's always harder when your opponent gets the mana ritual, because then you know, oh no, they can play something big. Here, of course, I was really hoping to get the protection, but did not get it. And now I'm feeling a little stuck. I decided to push back in hopes that my Storm gets strong, and that once it's very strong, I will play the Standard Bearer. and push it way into a strong position. I do get that going, so that's nice. Unfortunately, my opponent gets the Black Witch in time, and I don't feel like my protection is going to be enough to save it. They also, as you'll see here, they have a number of ranged damage creatures. The Archer Queen, the Shaman, the Phoenix, the Angel. These are all ranged creatures, and they're doing quite the number on me. Unfortunately, my shock did not kill the Archer Queen because the vampire stepped in front in time. And we do eventually kill the Archer Queen, which we always have to do. But at this point, it's just too late. There's nothing I can do. I don't have enough protection or defense to stop my opponent's attack. And we're just dead. So I don't think I played the best. I think my opponent got a pretty good draw. When those things happen, you lose. So we lost in round 8. So I continued at a fairly high price. I think like 1,200 gems or something. Thinking, okay, I got to get 3 wins. I did get 7 in a row once. It's really probably not the best idea. I probably should have just started over, but I was feeling like I was in a hurry. So here I play the warrior first. My opponent metamorphs. Okay, fine. I think I throw the Phoenix down behind just so I can win this little battle. My opponent plays the Druid. A little annoying. I decide to go with the Reaper next to my, and this is, yeah, I mean, the Inferno makes a lot of sense here. I didn't get the Standard Bearer in time to dodge the Inferno. But I did get to save the Phoenix, which is nice. So that's one advantage of when they use Inferno or something, and that's all they have. You can save your Phoenix that way. So now we've got a Storm Elemental coming at them. The pushback is a good move, but whenever I push back against the Storm, I'm always leery because that just means it has more time on the board and more time to get stronger and harder to kill. Their Metamorph, they do get a pretty decent draw on the Metamorph, but it's not enough as I get the protection out and the Reaper and everything's coming at them. And even though their Executioners at the castle and Giant Growth, we're just doing way too much damage per second compared to them to win. So we get the win in round 8. Oops, sorry. And so then we went on to round 9. Okay, 2 more wins away, 9 and 10. So unfortunately, as you'll see here, we lost in round 9. I think this one, if I remember correctly, I played particularly terribly. Kind of just got crushed. So here I was already in trouble because I was thinking, oh shoot, what do I want to play? I've got so many good choices. And actually the best choice that ultimately would have been done well was the warrior that faces off well against the fan dancer, but nothing else really does. Here I'm really hoping for a Standard Bearer, and unfortunately I don't get one. My opponent plays protection. I decide, okay, I've got to do something to save this. So if I had drawn a Standard Bearer here, things might have gone very differently, but unfortunately I didn't. And I'm working really hard to try to keep my Storm Elemental alive and still not drawing the Standard Bearer. I do get a Reaper out, but it's just not going to be enough. Unfortunately, my opponent's going to get things out too quickly and is going to be able to deal with my threats. And hey, look, there it is, finally arriving for us as the Standard Bearer. And unfortunately, I didn't get mine out in time to save the egg. And then I did kill the shaman, but it's just not enough because my opponent has all their cards and they have time to play. I'm not far enough down the field. There's just really nothing I can do. I think I do make a little bit of a half-hearted comeback here by grabbing their Hollow Knight, but unfortunately they Black Witch it. And I have no defense against that, no shock in my hand because I've already used it. And at this point, it's just me being desperate. There's really nothing I can do to try to win at this point. They've got too many things stopping me from advancing. So it was a well-played game by our opponent. I feel a little unlucky. I feel like if I had drawn a Standard Bearer earlier, we would have easily won that game, and I didn't draw one. I went ahead and continued again for around 3,000 or so gems, I think, at round 9. And I was feeling really nervous as soon as I saw my opponent because Sir Adam is one of the top players in the game. Sir Adam, I believe, was the first person to get over 7,000 trophies. And
And so I knew my opponent was going to be pretty good here. Now, the one thing I did have, I did feel good about was that I'm playing a Reaper deck, and I know that Reaper decks can win kind of against anybody with the right timing, the right luck. I don't think he played particularly well. I mean, against a Reaper deck, you really shouldn't play the Wind there. And you really shouldn't play the bomb on the skeletons. I mean, I realize he may have been feeling desperate, but those are not good maneuvers. Here he plays the vampire in that lane, but I think the bigger threats were in the bottom lane. Again, he kills one of the threats, but at this point, now I've got a Reaper out with protection on it, and I've got the Hollow Knight at the castle. Um, my opponent plays freeze, which I'm kind of like, okay, now I know he's going to play something, and so here comes the executioner, and so I'm ready, sitting there with my standard bearer, and of course I standard bearer and go immediately to a second protection, and here there's just really nothing he can do. So we were well prepared. I felt like if he had saved some of those cards that he used early, like the bomb and the wind, he might have had a better chance. But I think using those too early is a mistake against Reaper decks. So we got the win in round 9, and we went on to round 10. In this game, I played somebody who I did not know. As you'll see, this person was playing a Reaper deck as well, which I had a good feeling they were as soon as we both played our skeletons. Looking at our draws, I mean, they've got the standard bearer, the Reaper, and the protection. Most things point to their draws pretty good. I get out the Hollow Knight, and fortunately, my Hollow Knight does kill the Reaper. So now I'm a little leery because I know my Hollow Knight's weak. I know my opponent might be coming after it. I play the Phoenix behind, and that's a good move because it attacks the. And unfortunately, their shock just didn't quite kill my Hollow Knight, and I got protection out in time to save my Hollow Knight. I know eventually I'm going to lose this Hollow Knight, but all I'm thinking about is just keep it alive for right now until I can do this, throw down my freeze, and kill the Hollow Knight, and then I throw down the protection, and now I've got a pretty much an unstoppable force. My opponent has all their standard bearers, and that's really not going to do much here. Um, I've got the Hollow Knight, the Reaper, and the Phoenix, all with protection on it at the castle, and we got a pretty easy win at the end of the day there. And so that's how we did it. That's how we won the grand tournament again with a second account and a totally different deck this time. So there you go. It can be done. It took us a couple of continues. I either went 10-2 or 10-3. I think it was 10-2. I think I only lost. I think I only lost 2. I think I won the first 7 in a row before losing a couple there at the end. But that's it. That's how we won the grand tournament. We may try the master tournament on my other account. I don't know. The master tournament's been pretty disappointing. Takes a really long time to find opponents. It's expensive. The continues are outrageously expensive. Most people, or many, not most, but many people have decided that they're not going to play the master tournament. They don't feel like there's value there. So the grand tournament's still a lot of fun. There's still value to play that again. I may play it again. I may do sort of a live play of the grand tournament again or something like that as well. So that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye bye.